I see two different colored shirts here. Can somebody tell me, so the folks who are in the green shirts, can somebody raise their hand and tell me who the patron saint of the green shirts family? Green shirt. Who is it? Oh my gosh, look at the house. Thank you.
Little Flower, Saint Teresa of Lisieux.
Saint Teresa of Lisieux, also called the Little Flower, right? Beautiful. Wow, you know a lot about this already. Can somebody tell me about Saint Teresa? Does anybody know about anything about her life? Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, you remembered it was Saint Teresa, right? Wonderful. Who can tell me something about Teresa? Okay, go ahead. So there's two Saint Teresas, right? Teresa of Avila and Therese of Lisieux. And I think Therese of Lisieux, the little flower, right, is she was young. She was very young, and she was a sister, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and when she was only 5 years old, her mother was died.
Oh my gosh.
So she told her big sister that her big sister would be her mother, and then her big sister died. So she only had a father.
Wow. And then she went and became a sister and wrote about all these things and had this way of
And then she got very sick, and then that's how she became Saint Teresa of Lisieux.
That's right. That's beautiful. Wow, you know all this stuff. Okay, so and the folks who are in the pink, we call this fuchsia. What are we calling this color?
Pink.
Pink. Tell me, Team Pink, who your patron saint is. Go ahead. Yep.
Saint Gianna.
Saint Gianna. Wow, that's awesome. Saint Gianna Molla. That's awesome. You just talked about her yesterday, right, 8th graders?
Yeah.
Wow. Can somebody tell me about Saint Gianna? Yeah, go ahead. She had 4 kids. What else? Yeah, exactly. She had this choice to make, right? And she chose to be a person who respected all life and wanted all life to thrive and flourish in the world. We look to her as an example of a person who really celebrated life. That's great. Wonderful. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple things today. We have just a little bit of time together here. And I want to talk to you about one thing that I think is really important. And I want to, in order to teach you a little bit about this, I want to show you something that I brought for you. This something is very, very important and precious. Okay, so I want to show you this. Okay, so this is not mine, but it was loaned to me. So this is a rock that was dug up about 40 years ago in South Dakota, and it was part of an archaeological dig. And in that archaeological dig, they found this rock, and inside this rock is a little like crystalline structure that makes it very fragile, but also very precious. And this little rock is literally millions of years old, and it is worth almost $1 million. Do you want to hold it?
Yes.
Come here. Stand up here. Right? Yeah. Right here. No, it's okay. Here, hang on. Okay. Are you gonna hold it too? Right? Ready? Okay. So, all right. So I'm gonna have you put your hands out. Okay. One at a time. Okay. Ready? And I'm gonna have you hold this in your hand. Okay. So we're just gonna. I'm not gonna touch it here, but you can hold it. Okay. Ready? It's not that heavy, right?
No, it's like
Kind of normal feeling? Okay, great. Thank you. And then do you want to switch that and put it in? What's your name? What was your name?
Oh, Chloe.
Chloe, okay, and what's your name? Gabriel, okay, ready? Got it, Gabriel, wow. What does it feel like? Doesn't feel like $1 million? That's great. Now, you're holding it very gently there, right? Beautiful. Thank you very much. And I'm going to pick it up. Okay, great. Hang on. Get it. Great, thank you.
I think we did that on purpose.
You can sit down, April. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I was telling a story there. That this is actually just a normal rock.
Yeah, that's why.
Yep, you knew it.
Yeah, I knew it.
But this rock was something that Chloe and Gabriel held very preciously, right? Did you see how carefully they did? They were amazing at how carefully they held this rock, right? They were holding it in their hands very gently, very carefully. Why? Why were they holding it so carefully? Because
they thought it was like a precious thing.
Because they thought it was a precious thing. That's exactly right. Because I told you, right? Because I told you that it was something that you had to be very careful with. Something that was fragile. It's something that was worth a lot. Now, this stone is just a stone. But what I want to tell you, actually, this little tray is actually worth a lot more. This is like a Irish crystal. That's sort of, anyway, but the thing that I think is really important here, and I want to tell each one of you. Oh, sorry, am I moving right here? I want to tell each one of you is that this is the way that all of us have been given a gift to treat one another, because you, in your heart and in your soul, are absolutely precious to our God. You are more precious than $1 million dollars and $1 million diamonds and anything that you can think of that's super valuable to you. You are worth infinitely more to our God, who loves each one of you completely and individually. And He knows your name, and He knows who you are, and He knows your fingerprints, because He created you. And He created you in His own image and likeness to be people who love and serve Him. And when you recognize that you, in your heart and in your soul, have been created precious, right? That's something that you have to hold very carefully. And then when you interact with other hearts and souls, with other people in your class, in your house, in your school, we're invited to treat each other with that same gentleness, right? Because of that preciousness that each one of us has. And we're also called to be people not who just treat each other with deep preciousness and with that love and kindness, but we're also invited to give a gift that I think is a really tough one to give. Now, stay with me for just a second. I think this gift is one of the toughest ones that you can give these days, because it's something that is being asked of you constantly. It's something that every advertiser wants. It's something that every game, every TV show wants from you. And it's a gift that only you can give. And that gift is your attention. How many times a day does somebody say to you, pay attention, right? Pay attention. And by that they mean give me your attention. Your attention is something that no one can take from you, that you have to freely give. And it is a gift that you give to those who are around you, to people who are talking to you, to the Eucharist in Eucharistic adoration, right? You can be sitting there in front of the Eucharist and Eucharistic adoration and just be sitting there and go, this is something that I ate for breakfast. This is a story that I read one time. Oh my gosh, that thing is totally weird. What's that on the ceiling? Oh my gosh. Right? Exactly. Right? You can say there's all these different things going on. You don't have to pay attention to Jesus' real presence in the Eucharist, which is right there in front of you. But you are invited to be people who are giving your love and your attention to Jesus in that moment in Eucharistic adoration. And that's a great gift that you can give to the Lord. And I think this is a gift that you can give to each other too, right? And I want to show you what I mean by doing this. but I need a volunteer. Somebody can volunteer. Somebody from the back. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Great. I'm gonna have a couple volunteers, so you might get a chance. Okay. Okay, great. Come on up and tell me your name and something you like. So right here. Okay, yeah. So your name and something you like about St. Anthony School. Go ahead.
So my name is Seth.
Seth.
And I like all my friends and teachers, and I get to learn.
That's amazing. Tell me something that that you really like to learn about.
Everything.
You like to learn about everything. Except math. Well, that's close enough, right? You're almost a Renaissance guy. Okay, that's great. And you have all these great friends too. What grade are you in, Seth? You're in 5th grade. Wonderful. Well, thank you. It's so nice to meet you, Seth. All right, thanks. Time. Time out. Now, that conversation that I had with Seth, I was being what I would call a good friend, right? What was I doing to pay attention to Seth when we were talking? Go ahead.
You were listening, looking at him.
I was looking at him, right? And I was listening. How'd you know I was listening to him?
Because you were responding to his, he was responding to your questions and you were reacting to him.
Precisely, right? That I was asking him follow-up questions. I listened to what he was saying. I wasn't distracted, right? I was looking at him. All these things that, what's your name?
Jordan.
Jordan, all these things that Jordan picked up of the things that I was paying attention to Seth, and I was giving him my full and undivided attention. That's what a good friend does, right? That is recognizing Seth has great dignity, that he's a beloved child of God, that he's been created in the image and likeness of God, and that he's a really great and important person that that God loves deeply, and that I'm invited to give my respect to as well. Okay, who would like to be another volunteer? Another volunteer. Oh my gosh, you guys are all volunteering so beautifully. Okay, go ahead, come on up. Okay, now same questions. Okay, keep saying that right back. Tell me your name and something you like about St. Anthony School. Go ahead.
Billy, and I like lunch.
What do you like about lunch, Billy? Oh wait, hang on, just a sec. Hang on, we got this next. This my friend just sent me this picture of this is a dog on a roller, like a skateboard. It's good. Oh my God, it's a dog on a skateboard. That's okay. Billy, how do you spell Billy? B-I-L-I. Billy and I think this is awesome. Okay. What were you saying?
I like lunch.
Yeah.
And talk to my friends.
Yeah, that's all. Oh, wait, they responded. Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. Okay. So you like lunch, and that's great. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much, Billy. Go ahead and sit down. Okay. This style of conversation, I would call not a good friend. I would call this interrupting cow. Does anybody know the joke of interrupting cow? Ready? Okay, do it for me. Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow. Exactly. So, all right. So the way that I was treating Billy was kind of like that interrupting cow joke, right? Tell me why. Why? Go ahead. Yeah. Right. In the middle of conversation, instead of listening to her, right? Instead of giving her my eyes and my attention and asking questions, like Jordan pointed out, right? That I was just kind of like, and I was doing something else, and I made it was the illusion that she and I were both in on it, because like Billy and I, right? I said that, right? That we were both doing this. But in actuality, I wasn't really paying her attention. I wasn't really giving her my full respect. Now, sometimes this happens in life. Sometimes it's just a case where we just have to, your parents are trying to figure things out or whatever, and they don't mean to be mean or disrespectful, right? But they just have a lot of things going on and they can't fully pay attention to you. But you have this opportunity to give the gift of your attention to people who are around you. To give the gift of your attention to our Lord when you go to Eucharistic adoration. To give your attention to our God when you're in prayer. And to give the attention that each one of you deserves when you're having a conversation with each other. That's what it truly means, and that's a gift to give that recognizes the dignity of every person. And when we talk about what St. Gianna did in her life, she truly recognized the preciousness of all life. And we look to her as a model of someone who saw the preciousness of all life, recognized it, and literally gave her life for it. Now, you and I aren't called probably to give our lives for one another, but we are called to be people who lay down our attention, right, and give of our lives in some ways. Because we know it's not always easy to give our love and attention to people who are around us, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I know I've heard this story from my grandparents before, and I'm just kind of zoning out, right? Or my little brother wants to show me he does the little thing, right? He knows how to do. I know it's called the and he wants to show me for the millionth time that he knows how to do it, right? And you're like, oh, I'm so bored of that, right? But at the same time, that's a gift that you can give to each other to recognize the dignity that each one of you has and to uphold that. And in doing so, you're treating one another like God treats each one of you, which is to hold you up and to love you and to see your preciousness in each one of your in each one of your lives. So, I think that's the invitation that we've been given today, to recognize that preciousness all around us and to treat each other with that great gift through the way that you talk to each other, treat one another, the attention, love, and respect that you give one another. And that can be a great gift for you today in living out your Christian life. Great. So we have just a couple of minutes here to talk about some